podcast. Oh my gosh, we're really rewriting an entire experience that historically is not great. I'd say go and physically go to be in the spaces where the people that you want to be with are, and figure out a way to communicate with them, talk to them, and resonate and get their feedback, because getting feedback at an early stage is the most helpful thing. What retailers want to see is, like, can you drive people to store? Can you drive a new customer to store? And what will that look like once you launch? This is our first nationwide launch, was Whole Foods, and we were able to tell everyone, like, you can go to a Whole Foods near you, which has been game-changing for distribution and access.
Welcome to the DTC Insider podcast, where online business owners come to find actionable tips and tactics to grow their businesses. Now, here's your host, Brian Roisentul.
Hey, welcome to another episode. As always, I'm Brian Roisentul, your host, and today I'm here with a great founder. She's Katie Diasti, the founder and CEO of Beep for Your Bee. Hey, Katie, thanks for being on the show.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to chat.
Yeah, my pleasure. So why don't you start by introducing yourself and your company?
Absolutely. I am the founder and CEO of a modern period brand called Viv. We create better for you, safer period products that are also better for the earth, much more sustainable in the materials that we use and the ingredients that we use. And we sell direct to consumer and in retail doors across the US. We sell in places like Whole Foods and on Amazon and on our website with subscription. So touch a lot of different channels as this omni-channel brand with a fun Gen Z flair to the overall vision.
That's great. So how did you come up with this great idea, and when was it?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I started the initial idea stage of Viv during my senior year of university. I went to school in Boston, and during an entrepreneurship class in my senior fall that I took, it was, very classic startup pitch class, come up with a problem, find a solution for it. And I was studying marketing and branding, but also social impact and volunteering like 3 nights a week at a women's shelter in Boston. So I was very passionate about how can brands and companies be voices for people and make an impact, and really wanted to see the two married together, and really started doing that with Viv. But, started the concept as a pitch for my final class project and realized, wait, this is something I am obsessed with, and I wanted to rewrite the narrative of periods being anxiety-inducing and stressful and stigmatized for a lot of young people. Because I know when I would walk down the aisles looking for my pads and tampons, I felt so much shame, and I didn't want younger women and kids and people with periods to feel that too. And then I learned about how much plastic waste and toxins are in the traditional products, on top of them having no branding that resonated with me as a consumer. So I was like, wow, this category is so boring. It's really hard on the planet and our bodies. Like, we need to find a better solution. And that's where the concept was born.
Were you already thinking about this concept before that, project, or did it come up during that period?
I was always very, very passionate about women's health. And then one thing that was really interesting to me was part of my things I was doing on campus and at the women's shelter was like really advocating for menstrual equity and making sure that the women at the shelter had pads and tampons they could use. So part of my job was passing out products. And at my school, I made this whole plan to bring free period products to the bathroom. So it was something I was so passionate about, but I also loved branding and marketing in that world, and thought this was the perfect place and class to be able to marry the two ideas. And it was so fun being on a college campus trying to build an idea stage company, because half the campus was my target audience, and I would put my friends in circles in my dorm and ask them about their pads and tampons and ask them about their periods. And it's the first time they've ever really been asked those questions in their lives. And they were like, wow, once you ask a few questions, they had a lot of feedback and wish things were so different. So it was such a fun place to build.
And what did you feel, or like, were you, let's say, I don't know if the word is nervous, innovating in a category that is, I don't know how many years old and hasn't changed a lot. How did you How are you feeling about that? Knowing is people going to are people going to resonate with this new thing? How are they going to incorporate these new products? How did you feel that these new products would fit into the mix that people already knew back
Yeah, I know. People thought I was so crazy because this was 2019, and they're like, "You want to go after the big players, the conglomerates, like the P&Gs, the Kimberly Clark's world? Like that's nuts. They have so much opportunity and budget and funding, yada yada yada." And I was like, "Yeah, if not me, then who? Because I'm a Gen Z young woman who wanted a brand that resonated with me and no one was building it, and I know my target audience more than ever. I was saying this the other day that I'm really thankful for my like 22-year-old delusional self for being like, I'm going to start a company today and why not? And what I don't know, I'll figure out. And I think that's one of the most valuable things you can have as a founder is just this like unwavering desire to solve the problem. Like I truly think I get up every day and I can't exist in a world where Viv or something like it doesn't exist. And so my mission is to create it. And I think you need to have a little bit of delusion and as a startup
then? Yes.
founder. And it was really helpful having that heavy dose at that age and helped us, raise some money that way and be able to tell this story. So I think I was less nervous and more just like, everyone get out of my way. I'm going to make this happen no matter what.
Yeah. And do you remember like these, I don't know, if you had this aha moment in which you said, okay, I had the vision. I was, as you said, a little bit crazy to launch this product, but now I see it's working. Like people like it. When did you, if you remember, when was the first time that you said, oh, this is working?
Gosh, yes, because we ended up launching the brand like mid 2021, and I remember prior to that we actually had quite a big wait list for our products. And at the time, I had just given out samples at events, and then me just tabling at like local markets and farmers markets, things like that. Very scrappy too. Like some of the pictures I found are like me with this sign I made at Staples that looks horrible, but people were so excited about the concept of sustainable period products. And I remember getting some of our first reviews coming in and hearing anecdotally from our community about how much it was actually not only like they're excited to use something that's better for them in the earth, but was relieving a lot of pain for them and was helping to make their period easier. And some people were even commenting saying, this is the first time in my life I'm excited to get my period. And I was like, oh my gosh, we're really
Wow.
rewriting an entire experience that historically is not great. And if we can do that, like that initial comment of like, I'm excited to get my period for once, was so exciting to see because when we think of other categories that have done a great job with innovation, I think of skincare, I think of the snack space and food and beverage, and how they found a way to make better for you food, better for you skincare, fun and exciting. And historically, those have not been really exciting categories. And we never saw that translated into the period care category. And finally, we're starting to see that innovation take place. And Viv is at the forefront of that.
Here's the brutal truth. Right now, you're probably paying tariff on every single item in your warehouse before you even made the sale, right? That means your cash is just sitting there, trapped in inventory that might not even sell. Not exactly a recipe for success, right? But what if I told you that there's a smarter way? With Portless, you only pay tariff when an order ships after you've been paid by your customers. That means free up working capital instantly, turn inventory into cash faster than ever before, and completely eliminate the risk of paying tariff on unsold stock. Here's how it works. Portless helps you ship directly from China to your customers' doorsteps in just 5 to 8 days. Yes, just like Shein does it. You get access to your inventory days after manufacturing, keep less stock on hand, and only pay duties on what actually sells. No more guessing games, no more cash flow nightmares, just smarter, faster scaling. Ready to turn tariffs from a liability into an advantage? Schedule your free strategy call today and keep more working capital in your business. Head on over to portless.com and tell them the DTC Insider sent you. Yeah, it's very interesting what you said about being scrappy, even more in the beginning, but pretty always because I interviewed, brands starting out, then 7, 8, 9 figures, or even Patagonia, Disney, right? In
Mm.
and what they all have in common is that they need to go beyond the storefront. The fact that we have things so easy these days, that we can, I don't know, source products, create a Shopify store in minutes, and then
Yep.
now with AI even faster, product descriptions and price everything and sell.
Mm,
Well, it's not how you build a lasting brand, right? So the
mm,
fact that you said that you are going to events and other
yes.
things, right, to get your product, outside and get feedback, right? So
Yes.
what did you do? Could you please tell us more about that? Because I think it can inspire many founders starting
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. No matter what stage you're at, I talk to a lot of people who are want to be part of the startup world or want to start a company one day and they're like, well, I can't go to XYZ thing. And I'm like, why not? I used to look at events anywhere in my city and would anything that had the word women in the title, startup in the title, or brand in the title, I'd put on my calendar and go. And I knew that for all the events that had women in title, I was at like a women in sales event and I was in sales, but there was like, okay, there's going to be a lot of people there who could use my product and I could
Right.
practice my pitch to them. And everyone's like, what do you do? And I would give them my pitch and I would do renditions of it and I'd see what would resonate and what their feedback was. And that initial, like, really scrappy market research that I was getting was such valuable feedback and it has such a ripple effect because someone I met once 5 years ago at an event could have this lasting effect and be someone that I really need down the road and be a great connection to another connection and meeting other startup founders and female founders at any stage. Those ended up being the people that were most helpful when I was raising our first round of capital was other friends raising money. And so I'd say go and physically go to be in the spaces where the people that you want to be with are and figure out a way to communicate with them, talk to them and resonate and get their feedback because getting feedback at an early stage is the most helpful thing. I used to go to these events called the Boston Women's Market and Boston was where I was starting the company and I would have just a table and samples and empty boxes I got made on the internet and all these signage that said like all about the brand, but I didn't have anything to actually sell because the product hadn't arrived yet. I was just
Right.
going to like teach people about what I was doing and someone would walk by my table and I'd say, "Hey, do you want to talk about periods with me?" And sometimes they'd run away and sometimes they'd say, "Yeah, I actually
With
really
this crazy
do."
woman, yeah.
Yeah, definitely a lot of those. And the people who did had like the best feedback. And I remember I had my pads and liners on the table with like, this is cool, but I'm really curious about a menstrual cup. Like, I'm nervous to use it because I'm afraid of the removal process. I'm afraid I'll get stuck. I kept hearing that over and over and over again. And I was like,
Right.
wait, me too. Like, the only reason I don't use it is because I'm afraid of how to take it out and use it. And so I was like, what if I just made that process easier for people? Then so many more people will be willing to try it. And so redesigned it so it has a ring at the bottom so it's easier to take out. And that simple design shift has helped our cup go viral on TikTok and YouTube and so many social channels as that better alternative.
Yeah, it's incorporating customer feedback one way or the other, online or offline, and
Yeah.
being close to your audience. Going beyond the storefront is not just, going outside, it's actually meeting your customers where they are and try to see how you can help them and listening to them.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So first you said that you went to these events, and then when was the point that in which you started, distributing these online? What was the first time you sold things at scale, and what channel did you use to do that?
Yes. Yeah, we first started just on our website directly, and we had, both you can buy one time or we had subscription model offerings. And for almost the first year of business, we just stuck to our website. We wanted to really understand our customer, really own the channel and get that down before going into other channel offerings. And that was really helpful. But then we realized that the patterns of shopping within this category, that 90% of period care shopping actually still happens in person and in retail
Right.
doors. And so we're like, okay, retail is kind of essential for us. And same with other channels like Amazon. So a year later in 2022, we launched on Amazon and saw a ton of growth just because there's so much search and demand for this category starting to build with more education. And we saw that it was just, a great new way to get people their products faster. It was something that we hadn't like really nailed down because we were shipping everything ourselves. And The other side of it was, okay, retail, like how do we get this down? And we started off with really small local shops. I would walk into them myself with a few samples and say, and some flyers, and be like, hey, this is my brand. And it would be like natural shops, sustainability shops, small pharmacies that are independently owned, and would just build these relationships with the store owners. And we would use things like fair, and then we're like, hey, like these fair orders are reordering a lot, and it's something we weren't even spending much energy on. And we're like, okay, retail is something we can focus on along with our direct to consumer business. And that's when we got a distributor and started launching into a grocery, and that really exploded our business.
And how did you get into Whole Foods? Because it's a big thing, I guess, for your company and for everyone listening who is trying to do something similar. It's like, how did she do it? So, what are the steps to getting to that, and or how? What were the steps for you, at least?
Yeah, it's definitely not something that happens overnight. It's been years in the making. We first met one of the Whole Foods buyers in like 2022 or 2023 at a trade show, and we introduced her to the brand. Everyone from our team loved our cup and our cup starter kit, and was showing it to her, and like brought her over, which was so nice of them. And we had this really crazy booth, because at these trade shows you really got to stand out, and we didn't have the big budget, or we had the smallest booth you could get, and we DIY'd it ourselves. We
Right.
made the concept for that year, like a Gen Z fun, beautiful bathroom, to make it that like Viv is adding a new life to your bathroom shelf. And we literally rented a prop bathtub from this guy on the internet, and we met him in a parking lot. We like hand brought it in ourselves, and we're taping tiles on. Everyone else had their booth like shipped in and set up, and we're there doing DIY projects, right? So we're like, okay, fingers crossed this goes well, and we were really dedicated to doing well, and having our product speak for itself, and our brand voice, and the whole feel of it. And I think that really came across with what we built, like really thinking out of the box. And we stayed in touch, and years go on, and buyers change around. And what ended up happening was this recent buyer who joined the desk like 2 months before our line review time period. We were like, oh my gosh, a new person. They don't know us. Like, what are we going to do? She had actually seen a lot of our social media videos. She had seen us on TikTok, on Instagram, and was like, I really like what they're doing, and how they're creating this community, and they're educating. Like, they have what retailers want to see is like, can you drive people to store? Can you drive a new customer to store? And what will that look like once you launch? Like, do people know Viv? Are they getting excited to shop it? And she saw this community that we were building on social that was ready to go to find us in person, and had been asking. They're always in the comments saying, what retailers can I find you at? And finally, this is our first nationwide launch, was Whole Foods, and we were able to tell everyone, like, you can go to a Whole Foods near you, which has been game changing for distribution and access.
Wow, amazing story. What does it look like from the other side? I mean, being in such a large retail store, it's like, how do you get ready for that? What are the things that you need to look, internally to have loyalty before, partnering up with Whole Foods, for example?
Yeah, and it was a little daunting too, because we're a small startup team, and we going into the review and her decisions, we weren't sure if she would say, you're going to be in one region, we're going to put you in one area. No, she said, all doors, 5 SKUs, go. And we were like, okay, let's do this. And, we're a 3-person team, we're like, we'll make it happen. And we really had to get our operations figured out, our supply chain ready to go. We built really great relationships with our manufacturing partners. We leaned on inventory financing partners and some of our existing angel investors to help support that initial push for the launch. And it did help bring so much excitement. And, we launched about a month ago now. So we are still really early on in the journey, but everything's on
Wow.
shelf and on properly there. And now it's our job to sell through and educate people that, hey, we're here, we're at Whole Foods. And our social media has really like helped do
So
that
it's
in a
been
low
only a
cost way.
month since you launched on Whole Foods. So it's very, very recent. And do you have any, I mean, no pressure, but do you have any learning so far? Because it's been barely a month, but I don't know, do the same products that work online sell, offline?
Yeah.
What, I don't know, Any findings in this brief period?
Yeah, it's been cool because we actually designed some new product SKUs with the buyer herself. And she really knows her customer, and she wanted to have a lot of size inclusivity too on shelf. And so we have 3 sizes of our menstrual cup and 2 sizes of our menstrual disc. And at the time, we hadn't even launched our disc yet. We were launching it that fall. We had the line review in like July, August. We're like, hey, by the way, we're getting ready to launch this. And she was already really excited about the cups. And so she was like, great, I want 2 sizes of that in the same format. We had calls with her around packaging, around what the booklet inside with all of the how to's. We had in depth calls about what that would look like. We really collaborated, which I think is going to set us up for success on how to make this go well. But then the next step is like, okay, how do we educate all of our communities? Like, it is very helpful for you to go and find us on shelf and pick us up if you want to see more of our product line there. And I think the behind the scenes, we had a whole series on social media of days till launch, and we would do these videos every week of like X amount of days to our biggest retail launch ever, and would show like what we were working on that day, whether it was like getting our warehouse ready to go, whether it was doing some of the like marketing photo shoots and all of that. And I think seeing a brand come to life is a new trend that we're seeing on social media that consumers really do resonate with.
Yeah, I think they really appreciate that. They feel a part of that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. And, I've been talking with many companies in the CPG space, and some of them, what they have experienced, launching, in other retailers nationwide, Target, Walmart, etc., is that not always, but sometimes what works online doesn't work offline to the same degree. For example, some of them use like the online channel for, as the lab to experiment and test new products, whereas the offline is what everyone wants to see from them because they already know what they're looking for. There's only so much shelf space that you can get,
Yeah.
and seconds to shine, and people compare prices or different things or go to the brands they know, and there's only so much they can see in the packaging, right? Whereas online, you can educate them, and maybe you can convince them to buy something more, I don't know, something that they are not aware.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And who we are next to on shelf and how to complement it. And we are now like the main cup and disc supplier offered at Whole Foods, and it's the first disc on shelf. So it's been really interesting to just have more options available for a customer and then engage in the required sales. I think something that our buyer was really excited about is if we went down to Austin in the headquarters and met with her pre-launch, talk through our launch strategy with her. And she's like, I don't really see this happen a lot with brands in this space. And that's wild to us because to us, like, we really wanted to make sure this went well.
Do you need to adjust the packaging for retail, that like things that you don't probably do online? Like they receive the package, I mean, customers, and they are happy with what they bought online. Offline, the package sells, many times.
Yeah.
Did you need to adjust that?
We did make some really great adjustments on like education around the sizes on the side of our boxes. Because we know online, like we're often using a TikTok video to talk about the sizes and showing them
Right.
and using diagrams. And so we adjusted a lot of the different sides of the boxes to have as much education as possible and a lot of call outs. And uh, that was something that we collaborated with our buyer with, which was really good feedback for us.
Amazing. So let's talk about the online world right now. So you said that you're present on TikTok and on Instagram. I saw you on YouTube as well, and I have a curiosity to discuss there as well. So which one came first? Was it TikTok? Was it Instagram?
Oh my gosh, well, we started building before TikTok was really even a thing for brands. Instagram was our first. And yeah, I started our initial Instagram, I think in 2019 or 2020 when I was building the audience. And no one was on TikTok then. Like we all started like
Everyone
right
was
into
dancing
COVID.
on TikTok only.
Yeah, we were just starting to dance on TikTok when we were getting started, and TikTok Shop hadn't launched, nothing yet. So we was a great opportunity for then us to see how fast we could grow with education on TikTok and really use that channel. So Instagram and TikTok are two of our biggest channels, as well as then we were seeing how great we do with short form video. we're like, let's translate this to YouTube, right? Like there's shorts came out, all of them, are mimicking each other. We were trying to keep up, but also as a small team, reuse content that worked in different channels to get new people engaged, and balancing the three now is our biggest priority.
How big is your team? We're small, based on your words. How many of them are you?
We're three full time. We got some great part time contractors, things like that, an agency here and there, but mainly the three of us.
And yeah, the mighty three. Yeah, I mean, you need to be every day. So yeah, it's not about the quantity. These days, with everything that's going on in the world, in the US, where it's like you don't need to overhire. It's better to have a small team but mighty.
Yes.
So and that's amazing. So what's your content strategy? Do you record videos for TikTok and then you publish this in other channels? Do you partner up with creators? How do you work on?
Yeah, in the early days, we did quite a bit with affiliate, and we would build relationships with creators pretty early on in their journey too. But they were talking about things like hormone health and things that were still early on in their journey, but we believed in them and knew that they were getting ready to explode. One of our first affiliates are these three sisters called the Balance Buyers is their account. And they had like 10, 15K followers at the time when we first started working with them. Now they have like 200,000 followers, and we've grown with them, and we started off with a commission model, and we saw how well they could sell, and we were like, okay, so we were one of their first paid partnerships, and it was one of our first times working in influencers in a paid capacity. We took a smaller approach to creators and influencers. One, because we don't have massive budgets. We've only raised pre-seed, and before that we're bootstrapping, and so we knew we had to have like good ROI, and so we worked with like 2 or 3 creators that I knew personally, and they would like text me ideas, and that made it a bit more of an intimate, like, and collaborative experience. Um, and then at the same time, we realized that educational videos on TikTok and YouTube was what was performing the best for us. And we had this one video that's simply how to use a tampon go pretty viral. It got like 5 million views and tens of thousands of comments from like teens asking all these questions about their bodies and what it was like to get a period for the first time. And we really leaned into that, and we were like, wow, this is a new wave of health education that we're creating through our brand. And now everyone's turning to the internet to learn about their bodies. I think we all kind of do it. We'll see something, we'll self-diagnose, we'll go on an internet spiral, but instead of WebMD like it used to be, it's on Instagram and TikTok. So how can we create a really high quality educational platform that educates people about their periods, their bodies, and just have like some fun on there too, while doing it in a really empowering way. And so we've seen a lot of success with like what is a menstrual cup, how to insert a tampon, how to clean a cup, and these like very educational based ones that definitely did well on TikTok. And so we tested it on YouTube and realized, oh, this really does well on YouTube because that's where people go to learn things.
When you say YouTube, is it long form videos or shorts?
We're doing mainly all shorts, and reusing some of that content from our other channels and using that on YouTube as well, and seeing a lot of success there and a lot of engagement.
I was telling you before, we started recording that I was intrigued by the fact that when I visited your, YouTube channel, I saw 6K followers, and for a brand that's great, it's very, very decent. But I didn't see any long form videos, only 3, but very old videos. And I saw a bunch of, I don't know, 700 or plus, videos, like short form videos. So it's the first time I was telling you offline that I see something like this. I see that, and I know that shorts boost the TikTok channel, but I didn't know that even if you didn't post any long form videos, TikTok, YouTube would, allow you to, let's say, between quotes, allow you to grow that much. Yeah. So, how many times a week do you post, more or less? There.
Oh my gosh, almost every day, quite often, a few times a week at least. Similar to how often we're posting on TikTok, I think it's important to just keep the content engaging and consistent there. We've really seen a lot of success with like either behind the scenes or pure education and answering a lot of questions in the comments and engaging with our community that way through social media. But I think YouTube Shorts is in a really interesting phase where like where TikTok was, it was easy to go viral for a sec there, right? And like for brands, like it was possible to go viral. And now it's, as that app develops, it's getting harder and harder to just like see that viral moment happen. We saw this with, you know, every social media platform. With Instagram, it was a lot easier to grow at one period of time, and then it gets to a plateaued phase.
Yeah.
TikTok, I think, is getting to that plateau phase. But YouTube, I think there's so much growth potential for brands right now that
Yeah.
hasn't been utilized. And I'm like, telling all my brand friends, like, get on YouTube as fast as you can, because there's so much more ability to reach people that we're not seeing as much, and especially like on Instagram and places like that.
Yeah, it's definitely an underused or underexplored channel for brands. So I was going to ask you a question and I forgot, but it's about the content. I think it's another one I'll ask you now, but it's the length of the content, because I've been speaking with a few creators lately, and they said that, and it's no secret anymore that platforms like even TikTok are favoring longer form content. Not long form content, but not the 15-second videos either. So what's the length on average of the videos you create?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I feel like it really depends on what we see success with. Because sometimes it's a video that's 8 seconds long, that's one of our top performers. And then we have videos that are a minute, 2 minutes long about like really in depth product testing, putting, you know, red liquid on a pad and showing it absorb, that really resonate. And for us, we've been less focused now on length of content and more of like what are people getting out of it? Are they like heartwarmed? Are they learning? Are they going there to like feel something, or are they going there for education? Or like the two like buckets that we put our content in. And if they are doing a great job at either of those, then we have a good idea that it could be successful on our socials. And I know it's interesting because like we have TikTok reps that say, okay, if you're doing a TikTok live, be on there for at least 90 minutes. And we're
Oh
like,
yeah,
we're like,
tell me
oh my
about
gosh,
it.
that's exhausting. Like being on there for so long, but we're like, okay, that's when you hit your threshold to sell more. But it depends, right? Like if you're doing something really engaging in those first 10, 15, 20 minutes, if you bring on a celebrity, things are going to be different,
Yeah,
right? And it's really about like, of course, utilizing those tools and those tips, but also understanding like you probably know your customer and your community more than someone else who's getting really giving really general advice. And especially in our category, that is fairly different in the way people consume and engage with the content, right? Like people aren't running to follow their period brand on social media all the time as much as they are maybe their favorite clothing brand or their favorite,
right.
you know, beauty brand. And how can we create things that do make them want to say, oh my god, Viv posted something, I can't wait to see what it is, right? And that's not often what you see in this category. And so
Yeah,
really
it's
knowing our
taboo,
customer.
right? It's a taboo
Yeah.
category, right? People don't want to talk about it often, but you know, people are um, doing it anyway. Based on what you say, they comment profound things. They leave profound comments. That
Yeah. Well, there's so much because it's been so taboo for so long. There's
yeah,
so much to talk about that hasn't been talked
yeah,
about on the internet before. And that's
yeah.
great for content.
So I remember now the question I wanted to ask you earlier, and it's about the community. You mentioned the word community. Have you ever thought about, in case you haven't already done that, have you ever thought about taking your community to the next step? Like Facebook group, Slack, school, any place that you can hang out with them and, educate them, get feedback from them, validate products before being launched or anything else that you're probably doing somehow, but have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, it's such a good question. And I think we go through waves of it through different stages of business. Like when we were first launching, before we launched, I had a Facebook group where I would get feedback and we would launch new products. And I would say, like, hey, what do you guys think of this kind of product? Do you think you would want it? Yes or no? And got some great advice, but that was really early stage. And then no one was really using Facebook anymore in part of our community. So we're like, okay, how do we adjust and find where they live? And for us, we honestly find that people are so within our target audience open talking in the comment section that we've really leaned into
Oh,
the comment section being a big part of our community, and people are helping each other in the comments too. Oh, I actually got this size cup and it worked well for me. And like, oh, I've had 3 kids, so I got the size large and it's great. And that's been really cool to see, like, that community build on channels that already exist, because as a small team it's a little daunting to thinking about, okay, now let's manage another channel. And we were like, wait, this is already happening itself in the comment section. Like, let's just lean in and help facilitate and take feedback. And I think a really other interesting place it's happening is in our Instagram DMs and in our email. And a lot of people will reply to our email flows asking, like, how's your product doing? And today I was looking through our customer support, and we had all of these like long replies of like feedback of like, I love the pads because of this reason. And I felt like my last ones were too plasticky and I can feel the difference now. And I'm like, I've never myself replied to a brand email with that much feedback in my life, but something about our category does really touch people and is more emotional. And so I think that does allow it. And Viv, as a brand, we're really focusing on making so much more than just a product line. Viv, we want to be like the cool big sister in your life that everyone needs. And we really see that through our DMs. Like, we got DM'd recently saying, hey, I want to shave my legs for the first time. How do I talk to my mom about that? And that has nothing to do with our product line, right? Like, that, we don't sell razors, but
Right.
that told us like a really key insight that like people turn to Viv as that like big sister creator that they look up to.
How do you react to that? Because, like, do you feel that you're in a position to give them an answer, or what do you tell them?
Yeah, I was just trying to channel. I was like, oh my gosh, how old was I when that happened? And like, I'm trying to think of empowering and uplifting things to say. But for us, it was more of like, oh my gosh, are we equipped to answer some of these questions? But it was more just joy that people felt comfortable asking us those questions. And I was like,
Yeah,
this would be such a great place for other people in a comment section and in a community board to support each other and advice.
yeah, it's great that you go as a brand, beyond the products you sell and people, because it's easy, we are in the e-commerce space and we talk all the time about that, the importance of building a brand and so on. But we are all consumers as well. And many times we go and buy products without thinking about the brand a lot, depending on what we
Mm-hmm.
buy. I'm going
Yeah.
to, buy this cup. I'm not going to think about the brand behind it and all the process. So, but when this happens and it gets to the level that you described, that people leaves you emails and gets involved and wants you to, to get involved in their lives, and they open the door for that. It's just amazing to see that happen. So congrats.
Thank you. But yeah, that's like my favorite thing ever. We have a little Slack channel subsection that says, you're doing great, sweetie. And it's where we put in our favorite comments, our favorite messages, really great reviews we get. And as a small team, like, those kinds of things
It's
are the
fuel.
things that keep us going. Yeah, it really is
Yeah,
fuel.
that's amazing. So I really enjoyed the conversation. I know we are almost on time, so I want to be respectful of your time. Just, one more question I wanted to ask you before we go. It's, if if you're talking, let's say, right now to somebody that's starting out, someone early in the entrepreneurship journey. Maybe
Yeah.
they are in that class, you are, at school, and they are in that
Mm-hmm.
final project presenting it right now, and they need this, I don't know, inspiration, motivation, or piece of
Mm.
information that you might give them. What would that be? No
Oh,
pressure.
that's a great question. I love listening to podcasts and learning from people's like true, authentic stories. Sheila, seen this, you probably do too. So I have a few that are my favorites. I love learning from other female founders. One is Sif Hader, who has a brand or a podcast called the Dream Bigger podcast, and her brand is Array, the supplement company that has been crushing it. So I love her podcast. I also want to shout out Maggie Sellers' new podcast, and just her content and newsletter in general has been awesome. And I love the Female Founder World podcast. She has really, really great guests, and I learn a lot about like everyone else's story, and you want to learn from everyone else's mistakes, so you try to not make them. And yeah, those are some of my faves.
That's amazing. So again, Katie, it was amazing to interview you. I learned a lot about you and about the brand. So where can people go to keep learning more about you and about Viv?
Yes. Well, follow us on all our socials. I know we were talking about that, so you might want to take a peek. Viv for your V, FORYOURV, is all of our social media accounts. And then vivforyourv.com is where you can find us online. You can find us on Amazon. If you're near a Whole Foods, you can find us there too. So lots of great opportunities.
Amazing. Katie, once again, thank you for being here in the podcast.
Thank you.
This episode was brought to you by BSR Digital. We help DTC brands grow through paid ads and email marketing campaigns. If you'd like us to help your business grow, head on over to bsrdigital.com and schedule a call with us.